Welcome back, friends. LostScarf here, and it's time for us to watch another Star Wars movie, and this time we're watching, finally, the first of them all. Hold on. Hold on. Where's the button? There's the button. There you go. Star Wars A New Hope. The first one, Star Wars 1, back when it was just called Star Wars. It got called A New Hope way later, because they weren't planning all this stuff. It was just Star Wars. And the original version was insane before they made this version, like the original script. There's so much craziness around this movie, and just everyone learned about it and studied and all this stuff, and just there's so much that could be said before we even see it. But let's treat this as no one's seen this movie real quick. Let's say you're one of our community, you're watching this you're gonna watch these movies with us. This is gonna be the first time you're gonna see this movie. Let's treat it like that. I remember the pacing being very slow. Younger generations might get a little tired in this movie, because I remember it is slow. We're talking 1978, I think. The pacing of movies back then compared to now is so different. They take their time with things back then, whereas people just got to be talking the whole time in current movies. So it's going to be interesting to see how that is for people. And let's go with what I remember. It takes place right after Rogue One, so that helps remembering. Vader happens, and then Leia doesn't get away, but the droids do, and we meet Luke, and we meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we meet Han Solo, and Chewie, and we meet all these characters. By the way, I don't even know what version we have. We obviously don't have the original. What version do we have, Jinx? Oh god, Jinx wants it to be a surprise. Alright, Jinx can put on the screen which version it is, though. I just won't know. Alright. Okay. Because George Lucas kept making more and more versions and changes. Theories are he did it because if he did that, his wife wouldn't get the money or something. Or he just wasn't happy with the final product, which is, I get it. Anytime you draw or make anything, you want to keep making changes, but you have to move on. You have to move on, and he didn't, apparently. This movie is going to be something, because it's interesting seeing it with the lens of this was something that's set up so much. The lens of, well, this was kind of the first of its kind. It really was. A lot of people didn't believe in this movie. A lot of people didn't believe in this movie. To the point that they gave George Lucas some amazing deals when he got this movie made. And, yeah, it just worked out for him. Real quick, the first time this movie came out, it made $410 million for its time. For inflation, $1.7 billion. Holy crap. $1.7 billion. That's amazing. But the thing is, this movie came out like multiple times. So they released it again and again, and then there was a special edition that came out in 1997. And when that came out, it put their earnings up to $775 million. It was like, okay, that's kind of ridiculous. So if you adjust for inflation, apparently it's made $2.5 billion. Like, just multiple times getting this movie released, it just keeps making more money. So good for them. Good for George Lucas at the time, and now Disney owning it. I don't know what to think. Like, I remember random things, but we'll just see how this movie is. And honestly, it's going to be interesting to see just what I say, considering what is going to get changed, because there's going to be changes in it. One thing I want to mention, though, is if we can find it, is that video on the pacing, the original pacing of the movie, when they did the editing with George Lucas's wife and everything. That'd be a video worth recommending, because that's such an interesting video on its own. And it just really shows just how they could make the movie better. Get back on lightsaber. There you go. And, yeah, it'd be really good. So I think that's everything to say. I don't want to ruin anything, because there's a chance there's people who haven't seen it are going to watch it with us, because it is an old movie. But let's watch this thing together. And then see what we all think after. So there you go. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. It's time to talk about the movie we just saw. I'm really curious about just anyone who's seen this for the first time. Like, that's something I'm curious about, because the younger generation, I feel like they get bored with the first parts. Because the pacing is so slow at the start of this movie. It's so slow. It's such an uneven movie. Like, it's a lot of just easing it in, and then shoving it all the way up there at the end of the movie. Like, really? Like, they just take it so slow at the start, I guess, so you just get used to the concept of all the... Because remember the time. At the time, things like this are just so not normal in the movies. Like, there's not a lot of aliens and things like that. And so they're easing it in. They're just giving you a bunch of these different aliens and locales and everything and all that stuff. And then we don't see aliens anymore by the second half of the movie, by the way. Then it's just a bunch of space fare. Like, it's just introducing you to all these different characters and all this stuff in space, and then we're on a planet and we see a crap ton of races, and Luke comes off as super whiny at first, unfortunately, and we get Obi-Wan Kenobi, we learn about the Force and all this stuff. And then they're at the bar, and then we learn about Han and just how things work with him. And then we're in space, and then things just get going from that point on. They're on the Death Star, they do a rescue mission, they're dealing with a bunch of BS there, then they get to the Rebel base, slow down for a minute to catch their breath, and then they go try to kill the Death Star. Like, it goes from really slow and then it goes really fast the second half of the movie. And it's just really uneven. I was very enjoyable, though. Like, once you get through that slog at the start, it's a very enjoyable movie, which apparently that's just how these Star Wars movies are now in retrospect, thinking about it. At least, we'll see 5, because I haven't seen 5 in over 20 years. But just looking at where we're at, Phantom Menace tries to go crazy from the start, but the last third of it's just really, really good. Attack the Clones, the whole thing is awful. And then the last third's really, really good. It's not even really, really good. The last third's just the most exciting part. I think there was interesting stuff, but it's still pretty slow and uneven. And then Revenge of the Sith. Ugh. The last third is not bad. Han Solo, I think Han Solo's better than it's given. Like, it's better than it's given. There's still things that aren't so great about the movie, but it's not bad. And then Rogue One, it's the same thing. It's very slow, and then the last third is really, really good. And Star Wars is the same thing. It's just, they have a theme. They have a thing they do. But I don't think that's how 5 is. At least I don't remember 5 being like that. I think 5 starts with battles, and there's battles throughout. So it's a different kind of movie. And it'll be interesting when we get to that movie. Just knowing the history of Star Wars and some of the things, like, Mark Hamill wasn't sure if this was a serious movie or they were doing some kind of joke movie. I remember Han Solo was like, just do the lines and, we'll get through this. There was a lot of arguing between Han Solo and George Lucas on the dialogue, and yeah, it's not the best dialogue. Harrison Ford. I think it's an enjoyable movie. Really do. I think it's pretty good. Rankings. Does it beat Rogue One and Han Solo? And that's the weight of it being the first one and all that stuff. And the last third's pretty damn good. I think it does go number 1. That's just how I feel right now. If you had to go point by point, figure everything out as to why this or that, then we're not doing that. But just on the feel, we'll go with the Force is all about the feel. So number 1, A New Hope, and then it's number 2 is Rogue One, number 3 is Han Solo. Number 3 is Solo. That's the name of the movie. And then the prequels are tied at number 4. What about Jinx? Under Rogue One, I'll see you adjust for inflation. Okay. That's what, when you look at older movies, you kind of have to look at what their context was and stuff like that. Like, we're not going full critic here. If we go full critic here, then Star Wars is easily number 1, just because of what it was trying to accomplish and what it did accomplish. Hell yeah, it accomplished a lot. But I don't know, just as a movie, like, I think the best litmus is what would I want to see again more, and I'd want to see 4 again more than Rogue One. I would watch Rogue One again, too, and Solo maybe. The prequels I don't ever want to see again. I'm tired of seeing those movies. They have their moments. I don't know, it's, like, the last half is pretty good. I've always appreciated with the Star Wars movies, we get to see so many aliens. There's so much aliens check to see there. What's interesting is just seeing the edits that were added in later editions of the movie. And like, I've actually seen videos on what got added and stuff like that. I'm like, why do they add these things? Also, just with the context of the trilogy and everything, like, there's a lot of things that from here that get utilized better for later. And I just like to think about also just Obi-Wan just running the long game. He's like, all right, I die here. That'll spurn Luke forward, so I'll just do that. Because I don't credit Vader with the kill, because he doesn't kill him. Like, Obi-Wan just goes Force Ghost right in front of him. Because Vader himself's like, what the hell? There's no body. The hell? I didn't hit him. And that's just a middle finger from Obi-Wan to Anakin. You're like, ha, you never got me. You never got me, bitch. The CG has not aged well. It depends. By the way, I was looking for it. I didn't see it when the guy bonks his head on the door. I didn't see that scene. Huh. I always thought that was in the movie because everyone talks about it. And it was like, where the hell is it? Also, by the way, Luke just randomly has a utility belt. The hell? Just all the stuff surrounding the movie, like the trash compactor monster looked at them all. They could sense Leia was the most dangerous one. Oh, by the way, one maybe I'm misremembering the line already, but because me and Jinx are already trying to, I had to go back and look at the scene. But just when they kill the Jawas, Obi-Wan's like, the stormtroopers are known for their precision. Are they? Are they now? Are they now? Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it. I liked it. I liked the movie. And up next is going to be episode 5, which is the movie that's considered the greatest movie of all time. Not just the greatest Star Wars movie, but the greatest movie of all time. Like, it is the Citizen Kane of movies. Like, there's people they consider it the best. That's what they just say it's just a perfect movie. Which, okay, I haven't seen it since I was, I don't know, 8? I don't remember when I last saw it, so it'll be interesting to see it again and see what I think if it's so good. And I don't think, what's the word here? I'm not going in anticipating it to be the greatest movie, so if I'm surprised, I'm surprised. But it's been so long, I don't know. One thing to mention has got to be the special effects. Like, the ones that are obviously from when they were doing it the first time. There are some pretty clunky transitions, and there's also some really good transitions. There's also really bad ADR. And, like, the best ADR of the entire thing is Darth Vader for obvious reasons. There's just some scenes with really bad ADR. But, like, just the transitions, like, the transition to the trench run is really impressive to me. I really like that transition. It's a sweet transition. Like, if you notice it, you're just more impressed with how they did that, because it works pretty well. Yeah, the model ships look good. The lightsaber transitions are not the best. I feel like they could have done another 20 takes to maybe get that tighter. And also, a commentary on all the Star Wars movies. You could cut out a half an hour out of every single one of these, and it'd be tighter and better movies. Lightsaber, come on, get it back up. There we go. You really could cut out some things, and they'd be just tighter and better movies. I really think so. And Star Wars, this one has that as well. So, and also the soundtrack's just amazing, because, yeah, it's really good. So, next time will be, like I said, episode 5, which was known as Star Wars 2 originally. It wasn't called The Empire Strikes Back originally. That wasn't the plan. Eventually, he's like, what if I make them chapters? And that's what happened there. But there was a time when it was Star Wars 2. Which is a trip. Yeah, that's everything. That's everything there. It's kind of fun seeing this after the prequels, because where you see the things don't line up. Where you could just have it be just, well, it was 20 years ago, so not everything's remembered correctly. Or some things are just a cover for what's going on. Like with Obi-Wan, where like, well, R2's like, Obi-Wan used to own him. No, I didn't. I never owned R2. Never owned this guy. But it's also a question of whether he's feigning remembering R2 or not. Because R2 was kind of always there in the Clone Wars. Okay, real quick question for the next movie, because it's going to be relevant. What the hell happens what the hell happens with Jabba the Hutt? Because there's no way he didn't get paid enough money to pay off Jabba. Did he just not make any money, or does more things happen? I guess we'll find out in episode 5, because there's no way they've been doing this war and Han didn't think about maybe paying off Jabba, so he didn't have to deal with Jabba, because he's a Hutt. And Hutts are kind of, not something you want to have going after you, because they have pull. Or Han's just a dumbass. That's also an option. But yeah, that's I think that's everything. I can't wait to see what everyone thinks in the comments, and also uh, what we think of episode 5. So there you go. That right there is the video. I had fun. Hope everyone watching. That's what's all about it. Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.